Scrolling for ideas is not the way to create content. It's not the way to come up with ideas. Either A, like you said, you go down the rabbit hole and you're just like deep in content, or you start inadvertently ripping other people off. Don't look at other people or you just become a carbon copy of them. You need to be familiar with how content works and the energy and the flow of a common real storytelling. You need to be familiar with these things to like play in that landscape. That's fair, but don't copy other people. Find your own thing. How are you ever going to build a worthwhile brand or make millions just doing what other people do?
Welcome to today's episode of the Freelance Blueprint. I'm your host, Lizzie, a freelance UX designer and digital nomad. Today, we're joined by Jenna. Jenna is a marketing strategist, and she's teaching people how to find clients on social media. She's also the host of her own podcast called Shining Your Clients, which is how we connected. In one of her episodes, she talks about how you can achieve things by simply asking for it. So after listening, I reached out to her to ask her if she would like to be a guest on the Freelance Blueprint. And here we are. In this episode, we're talking about the options freelancers have once they start to grow, what to do when someone copies your reel or content on social media, sales techniques, also the sketchy ones, how to find the right team members, and how to find clients. So let's begin. So, hi Jenna, thanks for coming today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Where are you calling from?
Just north of Winnipeg in Manitoba, so like the center of Canada.
If I wouldn't know anything about you, but I would meet your husband, how would he describe you to me?
He would probably give a joke answer to start, like, tell me if you ever figure it out.
Do you feel like you figured it out?
No, I mean...
About you. Yeah. I see, yeah.
A couple days ago, he went outside to find me and couldn't find me, but found my phone laying on the ground and my sister calling. And so he answered it and said, okay, I'll just go find her. Like, she's got to be around here somewhere. And that happens a lot in our household. So, I don't know, flighty, wild, fun roommate.
Just like on the floor, like the phone on the floor?
On the ground outside.
Is it because you film content, or would you just like drop it on the floor? Because I think so many people are so attached to the phone. And I think there are some statistics that say people never have the phone more than like within a 1 meter radius away from them. How do you actually feel about social media and all this kind of stuff, especially in your case? Because I think many people who promote themselves on social media or try to build an online presence, they have this kind of mixed feelings with social media, because you want to be productive, you want to maybe look for inspiration, but then you're in this scrolling rabbit hole and you're like, okay, I now spent 2-3 hours on the phone when I actually should have done a reel, watching other people's reels. How do you deal with that?
Never scroll for ideas. Scrolling for ideas is not the way to create content. It's not the way to come up with ideas. You scroll for ideas, either A, like you said, you go down the rabbit hole and you're just like deep in content, or you start judging yourself, or you start inadvertently ripping other people off. I always recommend against that. Like, the goal is you go to your client, the process I should say, is you go to your client, you talk to them, you talk to your lead, you figure out what they need, what they laugh at, what makes them, what makes them light up. That's what your content's about. Don't look at other people or you just become a carbon copy of them, even if you don't mean to.
It's interesting because I once had someone on the podcast and she now has like 200K followers and something. And I asked her like how she started. And she was basically saying you just copy other people and make it your own version. And even now she's quite big and she's doing quite well. She is still like following, like, sometimes there's this trending reel or this trending sound and everyone is doing a certain version out of it. She's still doing that. How do you feel about those trending reels or like copying or like getting inspired by other people?
Yeah, I think my stance is pretty clear. Stop. Be yourself. Don't just knock off other people. I've had people, one time somebody copied my reel, like copied the visual, copied the audio, like just like remade it, right? And so I went to her and she was a follower and she seemed to be a fan too. And I went to her and I was like, hey girl, inspiration is one thing, but like, this is just a complete copy. And, she was so apologetic and she said, I'm so sorry. I don't know if this is true, but she says, my mentor told me to go out and find a piece of content that I liked and to copy it. And so it sounds like that's the same advice your girl's saying. And maybe that's not what they mean. Maybe they mean like, you need to be familiar with how content works and the energy and the flow of the flow of a common real storytelling. You need to be familiar with these things to like play in that landscape. That's fair, but don't copy other people. Find your own thing. How are you ever going to build a worthwhile brand or make millions just doing what other people do? Plus, you know what else happens, Elizabeth? People copy me And I go, oh, that stings because that's a post that bombed for me. Like, or I made no sales off that. Or like, you're copying something that didn't even work. And you can't tell from the outside if any strategy anyone is doing is working. You don't know. There's people out there with millions of followers who are making nothing. There are people with, a few thousand followers who are millionaires.
But that's also the other thing with this whole, everyone's talking about getting followers. And I mean, I had a long Instagram break because it's just so draining to make content. And then it's just online for like 1 or 2 days. And then it's hidden the algorithm. So now I'm trying to shift to YouTube or something else where it feels like, okay, you do all the work, at least it's not completely gone. But how do you deal with it when, maybe someone copies your reel and they do so much better than you? Or I had it actually with like Frank, he's a brand designer and he also promotes his designs online, or like basically his approach. And he had like, I think it was a reel where he was using AI and just gave it prompts to make it pop. And it wasn't doing amazingly well. But then suddenly someone else copied that reel, like another brand designer, and then it went viral. And he was like, I think that was the example. I don't remember exactly. And it must be so painful when someone takes your idea, you actually put the effort into it, they copied it. And there's still work around copying it. I mean, it's not just there. But like, how do you deal with that? I actually think it's impressive that you talk to that person. And yeah.
So what happens to him when somebody copies that? What literally happens?
Well, like to the person who copied or the person who got copied?
No, to the guy who got copied.
Well, nothing actually happens to them. I think he did a couple of stories complaining about it, but I guess you get frustrated. You get a bit annoyed and
maybe it feels bad. Maybe he gets frustrated, but nothing actually happens. Like he doesn't lose out. There's a reason that other person's thing took off. Like maybe it's frustrating, but like, I think sometimes we think that when somebody else takes our thing, it means that we get less. Like you still get everything you got. It doesn't take anything away from you. You don't lose anything by somebody copying you. You just have a little bit of frustration and then you have to manage that emotion.
Yes. I mean, I can imagine, but let's say I would have a reel. I don't have that many. I have like just over 1,000 subscribers, and someone else would come across it and would copy it. And then they have like, I don't know how many more followers. I think I would be pretty annoyed and frustrated, and it doesn't feel fair. Like maybe that reel is better. Maybe it's
you get annoyed and frustrated and it doesn't feel fair. But what happens to you?
Yeah, I'm frustrated. Like nothing bad would happen. It just doesn't feel fair.
So if you just like reframe, and like I hear you, like it is frustrating. It really is. But nothing bad happens to you. You still get everything that you're meant to get. You still make the sales you're meant to make. So it just comes down to like dealing with that frustration, and the person who's able to like move through that feeling and that like discomfort and that annoyance fastest is the person who's on to the next thing and is growing. And that copycat's still just sitting there looking for new people to copy. Or they make a sale and then they can't deliver because they're not you.
Yeah. But then also the other thing that I would find odd is like, imagine you gain these amount of followers and then it's not even your content. Like, I don't know how people deal with that. Like, I guess maybe they don't mind. They got their goal of having an audience and then they can promote their stuff to them, or whatever the reason is why they started to have an online presence. But like you said, nobody really gets hurt. Nobody has harm, but it's just a very frustrating thing, I guess, when you're not the one benefiting from it, when you had the initial idea.
Yeah, it's just frustrating though. You know what I'm saying? Like, and here's the thing. I think sometimes with challenges like this, like getting copied, like as you grow, stuff like that is inevitable. Just like as you grow, more refunds are inevitable. As you grow, hiring the wrong person, it's inevitable. Like all these things are inevitable. So sometimes when a challenge like that hits me, I'm like, okay, well, the next level includes this challenge. So I can decide to like go on my stories and vent about it and send the person a cease and desist and like spend all this energy on it and be frustrated and stay frustrated with what they got that I didn't get, that I wanted, that was fair for me. Or we can move through it, like address those feelings and keep on growing and go get the gold,
Yeah. Like you said, actually wasting time being frustrated, making stories about it is probably less productive and beneficial. But I like what you said with the abundance, that there's like enough for everyone. And I also I'm now in this habit of like reading what other people are doing. Like basically I look into what people who already got what I want to achieve have done. And one of the things that was written in one of the books it was about money and sales. And he was talking that basically if we would divide all the money in the world, every single person would have access to $1 billion, which is like, whoa, okay, like that changes things. I was like, this can't be true. And there are different numbers. Like if you ask like how much money is there in the world and all these kind of things, it also depends. Do you count just the cash? Do you count assets like houses and stuff? Because those might fluctuate and all these things. But then once that clicked, I was like, I'm not taking anyone money away. Like even if I would get my 1 billion, there would still be enough money for everyone else. So yeah, you're not taking anything away from someone else. So I quite like what you said there.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, let me tell you, it is frustrating. And like some days it feels worse than others, but it's just a feeling and it doesn't serve us to like stay in it. When I was coming up, I had someone copy one of my reels word for word and she was huge and I was still so small. And I hated that. I was like, come on, dude. Like I'm the little guy. And you just like copied this frame for frame. And she had like 70,000 followers and I had, whatever I had. But I mean, who's got the longevity there also? And there's a lot of different ways to look at it. If that would have made me just stop creating or run a smear campaign or something like that, like I'm not getting further ahead.
Yeah. It's a bit like this fashion, like what's it called? Shane, that copies all the small designers and stuff and just sells stuff for like $2 a piece. But then that's the other thing. They're making so much money in such an unsustainable way, harming so much of the environment, and they get away with it because there's no regulation. There's no copyright when it comes to these kind of things. And it's tough. But to get back to what you said before, when you're growing, that you just make bad choices or that you have to learn certain things. And I think growth is like, if you compare it to, let's say, a snake that's growing, you have to get rid of the skin. Like you let something go and you just have to make space to be in that new version of yourself. What are the biggest lessons that you learned once you started to grow, maybe personally or in your business?
Oh my gosh, what a big question. Well, I think that there's a time and a place for looking to other people for their answers. And then at the end of the day, you need to just go to your own answers from within. So like similar to you, when I was an actor and I was trying to like build that as a career, and I tried for years and years and I did all the things and I wasn't really getting anywhere. I used to read memoirs and autobiographies from people that I appreciated who did what I wanted to do. So like I read Jane Lynch's and I read like, Amy Poehler's and Mindy Kaling's and all these, because I was kind of in the comedy world. So I like read all these people's books trying to figure out how they did it. And it was always a crapshoot. Like it wasn't one trajectory. There's no train you can get on and it takes you to Hollywood. It's a whole bunch of little things and consistency and a little bit of luck and being open to opportunity. Like there's no route out there. And yet then when I started my business, I'm just like looking for people to follow. And in a couple instances, I followed people who were smarter than me and I learned a heck of a lot. But then you get to a point where you're like, especially as a business like really scales, that you want to look to other people because you're scared of trusting your own instinct and you're scared of possibly failing on some experiments, which again is the name of the game. And you're just looking, or I would find myself looking for other people to follow because I think they have the answer and they don't. They would just be guessing with more conviction than me.
That's exactly what everyone is saying. Like even the biggest CEOs, the most important people probably doesn't know what they're doing, like they're the president of such a big nation. I don't want to get into politics. And one thing that I found so hilarious, and that was on social media, someone was saying things like, all of these things men are doing, so how hard can it be? Because we just do it on heels, or we do it bleeding, or we do it like, and I also think like this kind of looking up, it's good because you learn a lot. You can learn a lot from the people that have already done it. But at the same time, if you always look up and you never look at your level, or if you never look at the people behind you, or even at where you were 1 or 2 years ago, it becomes so frustrating because you feel like everyone has it figured out and you're still guessing. But I think in the end, the trick is the secret is that everyone is still guessing. Because if there would be one answer to everything, like whoever had the answer would be so stupid rich and more people would be able to get it. Even though now there's so much information, like you can probably ask ChatGPT about like social media strategy, how to do UX design, how to do X, Y, and Z. But still, like doing it, executing it is another thing. And there are a lot of mindset shifts that have to happen. So you actually feel like, okay, I can do that. I can record that reel. I can talk to the camera. I guess for you with the acting background, it was probably a little bit easier to start making content. But what was it where you shifted from pursuing acting to starting your agency or like your business?
Well, I found as an actor, everyone always says like, make your own work, make your own work. That's like the big thing because you don't control any of your own success, right? You sing in front of a panel, the panel decides if you get the job. You go to an audition, you audition 5 times, you still don't get it. You didn't get paid for any of those auditions. You don't get the job, right? So you don't have a lot of control. So everyone says, make your own work. So I made my own work. I toured a show. I did not do well. I was flying home between cities to bartend, but I was still at it. And then social media really found me because I had like all these gig economy jobs. Like I had my bartending job, I was volunteering at a yoga studio. The owner of the yoga studio forced me to take on their social media. I'd said no a million times, but because I'd helped him with his phone once, he thought like, oh, Jenna knows how to do this stuff. And I'm like, I really don't. I guess I had a bit of a knack for it and a knack for PR from a life in the entertainment industry. Yeah, so he convinced me to take on his social media. And then I asked my bar if I could take on their social media. And I did amazing at both, blew up the bars, got like, I was charging them each $300 a month to run like all of their stuff and branding and copy on the website and like all of these different things. Yeah, so then I started getting referrals. All these jobs started coming to me. And so there was a stark contrast from the entertainment industry where I had no control over my success versus entrepreneurship, where if I worked a little harder, I made more money. And if I wanted more jobs, I just got the jobs. Like I just went out there and did it. And so I was growing really fast over here. And eventually my agent called me and was like, so it looks like that Instagram thing is really working for you from what I see on social media. And she's like, do we need to have a conversation? And I also felt like it got to the point where I was more excited about a new client meeting than going to an audition. And this is after I'd been on stage since I was 9. It was my whole personality. It's what I went to an arts high school. I went to musical theater college. It was like my identity was this person on stage. And then suddenly I'm being like pushed in this different direction of something that's actually paying me. I'm actually getting respected. I'm actually really good at without really trying. So then I learned about marketing and got like kind of the equivalent of an internship and started reading all the books, listening to all the podcasts and paying attention to all the 14-year-olds on YouTube because that was like, they're the people who knew what was going on in social media at the time. Yeah. And then it just like ended up doubling every year and just exploding from there.
Nice. And I think like acting is a skill that nobody can really take away from you. I went to film school mainly to do editing and stuff. I was not interested in being in front of the camera, but we had an acting teacher from the US there for like a week. And the head of school back then was saying like, if you want to be a good director, it will be very beneficial for you to know what it's like to be in front of the camera. And back then I was like 20, 21, something like that. And I was like so icky about it. Like, I don't want to be in front of camera and like talk in front of strangers. And it was just within the school, like there were a few external people who came specifically for this acting coach, but it was a 1-week thing. And we were all together, not more than 20 people. So you get to know each other and it was a safe setting to explore that. And I think until this day, it's still one of the best things I've ever done. Like I never had the plan to pursue acting. I mean, I did want to be a Spice Girl when I was younger, but that's a different thing. But the communication, the having to emphasize with the character, thinking, even though they would do something that you would never do in real life, but that character is going to do that. Let's say cheating on someone or screaming or like something that is so not you, but you have to emphasize to understand that role and that character, talking to camera, all these kind of things, even like talking with a camera in the room are such beneficial skills. So I guess for you, that was super useful for starting the reels and stuff. But it's so interesting that like you tried so long in that one sector, but you have no control. Like you said, you're so like, you just have to wait for other people to make the decision. Whereas when you have a business, you're in full control. You decide who you hire. You decide who your target audience is. And of course, things will shift over time when you grow and learn. But when was the thing where it was when it clicked, where you thought, okay, I'm gonna go all in?
I do know that when I quit the bar, and I'd been at the bar for like almost a decade, and a friend once said, if you don't make a decision, the universe will make it for you. And it's usually pretty messy. So my exit from the bar was very messy because I was burning out on it. I was like getting mad at customers. I was like, it was not for me anymore. And it was also really hard to work a Monday to Friday when I was used to an actor, cabaret singer, bartender life. And now I'm trying to like be up to take meetings at 9 a.m. Like, I haven't done this since high school. So that was tricky. And then I was like, I'll just work Wednesdays in the weekend. And then I was like, I'll just work the weekend. I'll just work Saturdays. And eventually it was like, okay, well, I just need to stop this. It was really, really hard to leave. And my husband painted a picture in my mind of like a person with a pot of gold coins attached to their ankle, and how like a cauldron kind of, and in a hand, like a helium balloon that's leading me to just like millions in the sky. And he's like, the cauldron kind of represented like a tip jar, right? Like I'd go in, I'd wear a little tank top and people just like throw toonies and loonies at me all night. And then you end up with like a bunch of money in cash in your hands that you see, and it's addictive, right? So he's like, you are like attached to this money that you're getting in your hand, but it is limited. And we already know you can only bartend so many nights a week and it's not going to last forever, versus like the unlimited potential up in the sky. And I learned in metaphors. So like thinking that way was really helpful. Then I remember when I quit, I had $1,500 in contracts coming the next month that I knew was coming. And other than that, I was like, we'll see. Because I did a lot of short-term contracts too, because I would work for like a film or a web series, and that's why I was able to get so much experience in a really condensed time, because I would have like a dozen clients in the time a normal social media manager would only have worked with one company. So all these short-term clients and like festivals and stuff like that. So yeah, so that was the $1,500 moment was one of them. And that would be when I just inadvertently went all in. And I had another moment that was last year. And I got asked to come speak in Orlando. They offered to buy me clothes, but I brought my own clothes because I didn't trust it. So like,
was it when you did the suit thing? I remember there was something about finding a suit in your stories a while ago.
Oh, it wasn't that one, but yeah, but I did post my outfits and like had the audience like vote on them and that. But so they offered me clothes, they gave me jewelry, they gave me hair, they gave me makeup, they gave me a lav mic, which is one of those mics that you like wear on your face, and my own technician. And I had 1,200 people on Friday and then 1,200 people on Saturday. And I'm up on stage and there's a backstage and it's being translated into Spanish behind the screen and like all of this. It was like a big production, right? And as I was there, I was like, oh, like this is more acting success than I ever got as an actor. Like I'm basically the lead in this one woman show to a massive audience, bigger than any theater that I ever got to perform in. You know, it's like, this was it the whole time. This is those skills in action. This was the high I wanted from it. Like this was always it.
That's so cool. And that's just because you put yourself out there. When did you figure that instead of just doing social media for the bar and like your previous boss and things like that, and started to do social media for yourself?
Oh, I was way into it when I started doing my own. I ignored my own social media for a long, long time. Anybody who's thinking about starting a new account, I highly recommend against starting a new account for your business, because so many of those initial clients and freelance clients are going to come from your pre-existing network. And that was my experience. And then recently, Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram, essentially said the same thing in a video online. So I just started kind of mentioning that I was doing this. And my first initial retainer clients came out of the woodwork. Like I tried to think back to them recently. One was a teacher I had in college who followed me because he was my teacher in college. And then he had another business that he had joined and they hired me. And then I had someone that I improvised with on an improv team, knew someone who owned a brewery. He needed social media and he was like in a different country and I did his. So like I started collecting leads. Some people I went out and found. I found one of my clients on Craigslist because I was just being proactive. But a lot of people, I just started mentioning what it was I did and who I served, and connections from my pre-existing network that had nothing to do with marketing or social media started sending me people.
That's great. I also think like it's something that especially people beginning their freelance career, no matter what service they offer, they always forget that they already have a network. They feel like, oh, I have to go to this networking event. I have to do this, that, but you already have your network. And it doesn't have to be the first contact. It could be the brother of someone you know, or the company where you work at, one of your colleagues, their previous boss, or, like people have their own networks. You just need one or two connections to find that client. And sometimes maybe even less, maybe you already have your potential client there. And it's often this like putting yourself out there, like this first thing of posting content. Like I think when I started freelancing, the first thing my parents said, like, oh, it's not safe. You're not going to make enough money. It's not a secure job. How are you going to do your taxes? You're going to have your regular income, all these kind of things. And I'm glad I didn't listen to that. But I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of people who consider starting their own business, going freelance, but they have all of these voices. How did you feel when you started to tell people, okay, I'm going to do social media now? Because when you've been known as the actress for so long, yeah, how do you make that shift? Did you care about what people said about you or thought about you?
I never even did tell them. Yeah, I cared a lot. I cared quite a lot. Like I didn't even use my name. I used a company name. When I say that I started talking about it on social media, it wasn't like, you can hire me. This is what I do now. Give me money if you want pictures on your Instagram. It was like, oh, I'm at this cool event because I'm covering it for social media. And I'm getting free oysters in exchange for pictures. Like I was just like sharing my life and sharing what was going on. I wasn't like marketing myself per se. Or I'd be like, oh, I taught a group how to use social media if you're an actor. Like I just posted about that. Very like lifestyle centric, not sales like I teach people to do now. Like it took a lot for me to adjust that. Like I said, like my entire identity was wrapped up in being a performer. So it was a lot for me to kind of shift. And then people would bring it up to me and I would even be defensive. Like, oh, no, not really. Like, that's just like a thing I'm doing. It's the new bartending. It's just meant to supplement this other thing. And then, during COVID, you didn't talk to anybody. So there was no need to defend it. And then, and then I launched my program during COVID. And now my program is my main focus, Magic Marketing Machine. Instead of doing the social media, I teach people how to do their own social media. So that I'm happy to talk about because I'm in a completely different phase of my life now.
I think especially with freelancing, there are so many different phases. Like first, when you begin to just find clients and people get so scared about like, where do I find clients? And it's like, you just need one. At the beginning, you just need one client and then you add on and add on. Because if you make it like this huge, I need to find clients, you can't concentrate on this one client that you need that covers a couple of your bills and then you add on. And then once you have a couple of clients, maybe you get to the returning clients, which that project finished and it might just be a one-off website, but then they come again because it needs a revamp or whatever it is. After a while, you get referral clients and you can basically stop doing the sales. And at some point, and that's the nicest part, is where you have more clients that want to work with you than what you're capable of offering. And I guess maybe that's when you figured there's so much demand. Why can't I just show people how to do that themselves? Or like, how was it when you shifted from helping people with the social media marketing to helping people managing their own social media?
Well, just to backtrack on that, I mean, you get to a point where you have more demand than you're capable of, like you said, and then you have options at that point, right? You can raise your prices and charge more. You can create a more scalable offer, meaning something where you can serve more people realistically and still give them a good product, but it takes less time per person. Or you can scale up an agency, or you can continue to stay the size you are and start a wait list. Like those are kind of your options. And it really just depends on what you want your life to look like and what you want your business to look like. And I've done all of the above,
Which version is your favorite?
Well, the scalable version, which is creating a program. So I got to a point where, I was running out of time for me to run everybody's social media. So I tried scaling up an agency and I did that for a while, teaching other people, like firstly handing off tasks to a team where I still did all the creative, but the team helped with other things, then hiring people and teaching them how to do the creative for my clients and running more of an agency. And then I started consulting, which is also much more scalable, right? So I'm consulting with people, but I found they needed more support than a one-off call. It got to the point where I could charge like $400 or $500 USD for an hour of my time and people were happy to pay for it, then they would leave and they would not know what to do. Like I would either give them too much in that time because I'm like, oh, they paid a lot to be here. So I give them a bunch and then they're overwhelmed. They don't know what action to take. Or they think a lot of people think they just need that. If I could just pick your brain, for an hour, yes, I'll pay. I just need to know a couple of things, but they need more than that. They needed more support. Then they get stumped on a little thing and it would hold the whole thing up. So when I actually started my program now, it wasn't like a money hungry thing. The basis for it was people want 1 hour with me and they actually need more. And I'm watching that not work. And then I started doing an 8-session package where they would do 8 sessions with me and a content strategy. And that was working a lot better. So then the program became that, but with a group of people all at once. Okay, 8 sessions and online videos and worksheets and a content strategy. And it's that. And then it kind of, from there, that was 4 years ago. So now it's like tweaking the layout. Now it's like 13 weeks in a group setting with the materials. And, so it's like tried to figure out what's actually best for them and is also scalable for us.
And you must, I've seen your clients' results, you must have helped so many people by now. I've seen oh, I did this reel and now I got this one went viral and this one got me so many followers. I think that's the nice thing of teaching someone. It's one thing when you do social media for a client and you see them thrive or the social media going well. It's still a super nice feeling. I love it when the clients get what they want or it's even over their expectations. But I think it's another thing if you help one company or if you help an individual, help them with their goals and their personal, where they want to go in life. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about Magic Marketing Machine? Is it a cycle where they can join at any time? Do you launch it on certain dates? Or what's the best way for them to learn more about the program?
Yeah, so I'll link you to a free training, how to get clients from Instagram without wasting hours glued to your phone, which talks about the strategy that we use in the program and then also invites you to join the program. It's basically an online program and a lot of people can choose to go through it by themselves. The goal is you run your account in 15 minutes a day, you make amazing content a heck of a lot faster, but actually get clients from it. So I think what makes it different than a lot of Instagram programs is I'm not just telling you the hashtag stuff and the how to make a reel stuff and to how to look good on camera stuff. It's actually nerdy marketing and positioning and messaging and how to create content that makes people want to work with you.
Nice. I'll definitely add the link to the description of the podcast. And the other thing that you mentioned before is and you said you did all of the different versions, once you start to grow, is also hiring a team. How do you find the right people for your team? Because if you're on your own, you know exactly what's going on. But once you start to delegate, it's a lot about communication and having the first person. The first time I hired someone, it's an accountant, that's super easy. I know exactly they're the expert on this. They know more than me. So I'm happy to hand this over. The second time I hired someone, it was a subcontractor to do the boring stuff. So I do UX design. So it's a bit doing a design component for this button and stuff. And I've done it so many times. It's just, I'm happy to help a junior get their first gig and, hand that over. But I still felt okay, I have to check if this is proper because this is what the client's going to see. It's, if I hire an accountant, I'm the person who receives that. But if I give someone else's work to a client, I find it a bit tricky. How did you, one, find the right people for your team? And two, how do you manage working with them?
You have to hire knowing you're not going to be great at it on your first try, just literally anything, right? And somebody can be a good person and wrong for the role. Even just deciding what the role is, you're inventing it out of thin air in this business that you invented from a computer in your living room, right? So you're even inventing the role. So a lot of the books refer to it as you have to get the right people in the right seats on a bus. So you need the right roles and then you need the right people to fill those roles. And you can have somebody that's amazing on your team, but not good at what your business needs most from them. I've had some people come in and be perfect, and then some people that I hang on to, but really they were never in the right seat in the first place. And actually one of my best hires right now, my program manager, Marissa, who is basically in charge of, it would be akin to a customer success. I didn't spot her in the crowd. Somebody else in my business spotted her and was I think Marissa would be great for that. And I was I don't know. Because it was inventing the role too. I was I don't know. Do we need that role? Will she be good for that role? And then I just kind of threw caution to the wind one day and was like, actually, I'm going to just try this for 3 months. And she's exceptional. So like, I don't even get credit for that because I didn't, it wasn't even me. I can tell you one like mistake that I made with my second person I ever hired, and she'll agree to this. I've talked about it before. So her name's Paige, and she's still a friend, and she worked with me for like several years. And then I only met her after she was done working with me. We were just online, and we were like online together for like 4 years or something. And I'd never actually met her in person, but she was lovely. And when I was my second time hiring an assistant, essentially, we called it community manager. And she like really wanted the job and she really worked for it. She knew exactly what to say in an interview. She was so much like me. So she knew like how to chat with me and vibe with me and make me laugh. And she did a really good job. And she like followed up and seemed like a super keener. We had a great time together. Eventually, here's a clue. Eventually, when she left, it's because her business exploded. So that tells you that we were way too similar to be partners in this because we're both the same personality type. We're that entrepreneur personality type. She wanted to work with me because she wanted to learn from me to like be me in her own business, which she's absolutely killing it right now. And we both admit that like when you're hiring, you want someone who's different than you, different vibe, different upbringing, even different skill set for sure. Like you want to be complementary, but not just like surround yourself in people you're comfortable with because they're so much like you.
I find it so hard to even gauge that from like a half an hour interview because like I know like the best freelancers out there are the ones that know how to sell themselves, that are confident, that answer the questions, that ask the right questions, but they're not necessarily the best designers. So when I hire, I always try to figure out, okay, maybe they're just shy, or maybe, I don't know if I want to get into this, but like often women are so much less confident than men. So they tend to oversell and women tend to undersell. Even a friend of mine, like I'm the kind of friend, I tell all my friends, like, you should start your own business. You could totally sell this. You should do a digital product on this. Like I'm that person. So when I have a girl on this interview and I saw her portfolio, like I was looking for an editor for the podcast. I finally found one. So now let's see what the final outcome is going to be. But there was this girl and I saw her portfolio and she was like, oh yeah, I don't have experience in this, but I've done that. And like she was constantly, before she talked about something positive, making something negative. And I was like, I do the same sometimes. Like some friends also told me like, stop talking negative about yourself. You've done this, you've done that. And whereas with some men that I interviewed, they were like, oh yeah, I can definitely do this. And I've given all of them an edit task. It was paid because I don't want people to do free work. And then the results that came back, it's like the people that talked themselves down, their results were so much better than from the ones who like, I can definitely do this. Oh yeah, like no problem at all. And it's like good with sales and they tell you what you want to hear, but then the result is so different to what you've been sold to. Like, how do you tell from an interview, okay, this person is actually saying what's going to happen, or they're just good at selling?
Yeah, well, I know so much about sales that I can usually spot a salesman a mile away and then get like, I see right through it because I know the tactics and I'm like, I've got like check marks over here. I'm like, heard that before. But I think the main thing is you need to prepare going in and you need to know like what skills you're looking for, what company culture you're looking for, and be very specific about that. Again, which is hard if you're just developing that seat on the bus for the first time. But trying not to let them guide the conversation and literally looking down at your page with a checkbox or like a score out of 10 on the specific things that you know that you need from this role. And then you're not hiring just exclusively on personality or if this person's going to be fun to be around, although that is important for me at least, but you're like actually looking for specific markers.
One thing that you said, like you can spot the salesperson. I think like based on the people that I coached about freelancing and stuff, the one thing that the most people feel icky about is sales. And I also like sales is still the topic where I'm like, oh, I just don't want to do it. And like now it's starting to get easier. I've learned a lot about it, but there are also all these sales techniques that people are telling you, like say the person's name a lot, ask a lot of questions. The person who asks the most questions is in the driver's seat. Then there is also this, I forgot what it's called, like this book where you have to use certain phrases because that does something in people's brains, like all this kind of, like once you know these things, it's like what you said, you like, you can spot that, oh, this person has read this book, or like, yeah, that's a sales technique. And there are some that definitely work, like the urgency one, like, okay, sign up now. From this day, we're going to increase the prices. Or so and so many people have already signed up. Or like, especially in UX design, you can spot it when you're on booking.com and it's like so and so many people have booked in this town in the last hour, or there are only 2 rooms left for this price, like all this kind of stuff. I find it so frustrating, but this urgency thing in sales definitely works, unfortunately. Like, where did you get your knowledge on sales when you say, like, I can spot this person? And what would you tell a person who is icky about it? Like, how can they improve?
The sales tactics and the sales tactics that work didn't come from someone sitting down and going, okay, what's the most manipulative thing that I can say right now? It came from real conversations where the same types of things the salesperson is saying seems to work again and again, right? It came from reality. It is reality. It works because it worked casually. And then somebody just pointed it out, made it formulaic. And then when it's done without integrity, it becomes manipulative. For instance, urgency. Urgency can really serve someone. It can really serve you, because if my husband asks me what I want for lunch, see if I can come up with an example here, and there's no reason for me to make lunch, and he's not going to make lunch for me, which he normally does, but maybe he's busy, I will just wander outside and starve. And maybe people can't relate to that one and it was a really bad example. But if there's no reason that I need to do it, I'll literally just walk away and be like, oh, maybe I'll decide later. And then suddenly it will be dinner and I won't have made any lunch. And so people need a reason to choose now in order to buy something, because there's different buyer archetypes, and the people that are like me, which is a lot of them, are literally just going to wander off and not make any decision because you didn't give them a reason to choose now.
Me too.
So the way that we look at urgency, because a lot of my clients, like the people who gravitate to me, it's like the people who would describe themselves as heart-centered. They are all service people. They serve people. They work with babies. They work with the elderly. They teach kids. They teach yoga. They have online programs that help people get a clear result in their life. Like, they're mindset coaches. It's that type of people, right? So they want to sell. They need to sell. They need to make money, but they want to do it with their values and integrity intact. So we create authentic urgency, which looks like, instead of punishing someone for not making a choice right now, we reward them for making a choice right now. So for instance, I've been on sales call once where the girl told me that working with her would be $5,000 if I signed up by the end of today, or maybe it was by the end of this call. And if not, it was $7,000. So I'm like, so overnight, miraculously, your rates increased to $7,000, like $2,000 more because it's tomorrow. That's made up. And it's a pressure tactic. And now, because I see it, I resent it, and I'm actually not going to buy. Now, if she'd have said, if you make a decision right now and you sign up right now, I can give you this extra thing that you don't need, but might be fun for you to have, like an extra complimentary mini course, say. Okay, I can live without the mini course if I need to take that extra time, but you are incentivizing me in an empowering and positive way to make a decision quickly if I choose to, with my own autonomy. So see how they those offers are using the same tactic, but they really hit differently.
I think I've been on so many sales calls. Also, like when I was looking for a coach for myself, I've had the same like you. And it's like, you can sign up now, but if you sign up after tomorrow, it's going to be this much. And I'm like, I don't want to work with you anymore because, but at the same time, I wanted to work with this person. I already knew before I was going to hop on a call with her that I will most likely book her. So I just took the discount. Like in my head, I just told myself it's a discount instead of like waiting. But that's the thing. It helps you to make the choice now because I don't need a coach right now. Like I can figure it out by myself, but I know if I hire a coach, I'm going to get to where I want to be so much faster than if I would figure it out myself. And it's the same like with any online course. There's so much content out there. You can like find the puzzles and browse on YouTube and stuff, but then you don't know if it's like exactly what you need. Whereas if you have a course like yours, okay, first we start with this, then you do that. You have the community, which is another motivator. Like that's what I don't like about courses that you do in your own time. I never motivate myself to do it. But if you're in a community with other people doing the same course, like you feel like you can share things with them. You can celebrate each other's wins. How did you find the structure for your course? Or like, how did you, I mean, you said initially it was one-off calls and then you noticed 8-hour packages are much better and now it turned to this 13-week thing. Did it just evolve like those sales techniques where it's like, okay, these things work and now we put a label to it? Or how do you even come about creating a course?
Okay, there's a lot in there. So the reason we hired Marissa as program manager is because I was spending all my time improving the product and it was already a proven product, right? Like the course already gets people results. It's already good. We already have hundreds of testimonials. So at that point, you need to put your CEO hat on and go, all right, I could sit around and improve this product all day and add bells and whistles and like over deliver, but it's done. So if we want this company to continue to build, I need to focus on sales and marketing and not continue tinkering with something that's already good. So we brought in Marissa. The main like overarching reason is, okay, you are now in charge of making sure everybody stays happy, that the materials stay up to date, and that everybody knows where they're supposed to be and when. Like that was the kind of description of her job. Like make sure everyone's happy and they know where to be and when. Those are like the main basis of it so that I could go work on sales and marketing to get more people in. Otherwise, I would keep tinkering with it. But after 4 years, you know, it's already good. And you need to sometimes just go, okay, I'm going to sell it as is. Because if we don't keep getting more people in the door, everybody loses their job.
Mm. But that's the nice thing with like being your own boss, starting your own business. You can find the people that like you help someone else by hiring them. They can learn. You can surround yourself with the people that also in a way inspire you. Like what you said, when you hire, you need to enjoy working with the person because you've spent a lot of time with the people that you work with, and that you can scale your business from like, okay, I can choose to no longer work in the bar and I'm going to do social media. Actually, I want to do this course. Like you don't have to ask for permission. And it's quite nice that you like, okay, this course works, instead of trying to like, I'm pretty sure already did dot the I's and cross the T's and stuff. But like, instead of like making it even more specific, like how can we make it more efficient and how can we make it better for the people that like basically the funnel to keep it going.
And don't get me wrong, I do improve it. Like this week, I messaged the team at 10 p.m. because after my day was done and I had an idea and I added a lesson to it in the middle because I was like, I'm not supposed to be doing this during my working hours, but it's the middle of the night. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this in. So I added it in, and we also added like systems to improve it. Instead of just me spending all day improving it, we do like monthly expert workshops. So if there's something that people are asking for or where the program's missing, we do a monthly expert workshop. I do a Facebook Live every week. So if there's a question people have been asking, or if there's a new feature out, now it's an organized structure. Okay, Jenna goes and does a Facebook Live to the group instead of me just, you know, spending time focusing on that instead of focusing on sales and marketing.
Nice. And I also guess like those are the fun parts to do.
Yeah, it's so fun.
There are 3 questions that I ask all my guests on the podcast. And one of them is, would you ever go back to a permanent job?
You know what? I always said no, but I was just, this is going to be kind of a long-winded, meandering answer, but I have a friend who is in HR and she helps people transition from like high level careers. So like you're a CEO and you want to go be a CEO somewhere else. And just this weekend, she was talking about keeping your mind open to possibilities and you don't know what the future holds, and seeing her see people work with people at the very top of their game who then transition to something else and are happier there or just as happy made me not hold so staunchly to the idea that I would never go back to a job because I don't want to limit my potential.
Interesting. We didn't have this answer before.
Yeah. I don't know if I could get back to like getting dressed every day. That would be like really challenging. There would be challenges, but
I think nowadays you don't really have to do this with like depending on your role, but if it's remote, you don't really have to. Even if you would go to a permanent job, hopefully you wouldn't have to do this. Okay, second question. If you could go back in time to, let's say, where you got your first marketing job, where you said like they paid you $300 a month, what would you today tell your past self?
I'm really happy with where I am in life. I don't think I would go back and mess with the butterfly effect in that way.
If you would think of your future self 5 years from now, imagine where your business would be. Imagine maybe you will travel somewhere. Maybe you took on a job where hopefully you don't have to get dressed every single day. What do you think your future self would come and tell you today?
That's such a good one. Get off your phone, maybe?
It's fine. You drop it in the garden on the floor anyway, no?
Yeah, maybe the opportunities are out there and, not in the device, and they're out there with the real people. I recently moved to the woods, and so it's like very obvious to me that I'm like always like forcing myself to get out there and try and find communities. And I do like yoga with old ladies on Sunday mornings just because it's the only thing that exists. So trying to get out there with the real people and find opportunities that way. It was so much easier when I lived in a city.
Nice. And also, like, I guess this also ties well with your potential speaking gigs. Like, if you had I guess there will be more coming like that. Like, is there one where you're gonna talk soon, maybe?
The next one is in Texas in the fall. It's my next one coming up. Yeah.
Cool. Well, this is super exciting. Thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, thanks for your time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Elizabeth.
It was so interesting to talk to Jenna and learn how she started her own business. If you want to learn how to manage your own social media and find clients, you can watch Jenna's free training. I'll add the link in the description of this podcast. If you like this episode, please leave a review and hit the follow button. This will help the Freelance Blueprint get suggested to more people like you. Share this episode with anyone who you think can benefit from listening. That's all from me, and I hope to see you again next week. Bye.